My name is Ava Sinclair. I'm 27 years old, and my work involves saving decaying books. I spend my days handling fragile things with a gentle, patient hand. But my own family? They never once handled me with that same care. Just last year, at a dinner supposedly celebrating my sister Chloe's big promotion, I nearly died. It all happened in a matter of seconds. I'd taken a single spoonful of the creamy soup that had been placed before me. Instantly, my throat started to close. My chest felt like it was being squeezed in a vice grip. I couldn't get a breath in. I couldn't make a sound. I fell from my chair, hitting the polished floor with a thud. The entire room started to spin. I heard gasps from other guests. But my sister, she didn't cry out for help. She didn't reach for a phone to call 911. She laughed. "Oh, stop it, Ava," she said, looking down at me as I struggled for air on the expensive carpet. "Stop being so dramatic for attention. It's pathetic." As the darkness began to swallow my vision, I saw Julian Croft, her billionaire CEO, scrambling toward me, his face a mask of pure terror. He knew this wasn't an act. With the very last fragment of my strength, I lifted a shaking hand and pointed a finger at the bowl on the table. I needed them to save that soup, because I knew, with chilling certainty, this was no accident. This was an attempt on my life. Before we get into the details, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below letting me know where in the world you're watching from. To get why my own sister would do this, you first have to understand who Chloe is. And more importantly, you have to understand the role I was cast in. In the Sinclair family, everyone had a designated part to play. These roles were carved into stone long before I was even born. Chloe was the star. As the firstborn, she was loud, gorgeous, demanding, and razor-sharp. She was the one who brought home the perfect report cards, landed the lead roles in every school production, and collected trophies for the debate team. I was the quiet one. I was just Ava. I was the background noise to her brilliant performance. My parents, Robert and Helen, didn't just love Chloe. They worshipped her. They looked at her like she was a rare prize they had somehow won. When Chloe got an A, the whole family went out for celebratory ice cream. When I got an A, my mother would just say, "That's nice, dear. Now, have you seen Chloe's grades? She's at the top of her class again." It wasn't just that they loved her more. It was that they actively needed me to be less. They needed me to be the devoted audience for her one-woman show. If I ever dared to inch toward the spotlight, even for a moment, Chloe would shove me right back into the shadows, and my parents would let her. "Don't be so jealous, Ava," my dad would say, whenever Chloe broke my toys or ruined one of my paintings. "She's just got a lot of spirit. You need to be more understanding." So I learned to make myself small. I learned to be quiet. I found my escape in books, old, forgotten books. I fell in love with the scent of aged paper and the tangible weight of history in my hands. I discovered a sense of peace in the silence, in mending things that were broken. That's what led me to become an antique book conservator. It's a quiet profession. It demands patience, steady hands, and an intricate knowledge of both chemistry and history. My family despised it. "It's so dusty," my mother said when I declared my major. "That's a job for old maids." "It's not a real career," my father chimed in. "Chloe is going into public relations. She's going to build brands. She's going to be somebody. What are you going to be? A librarian with a glue stick?" They both laughed. They always laughed at me. Let's fast forward to the night of that dinner. It was a Tuesday in November. It was biting cold outside, but inside the restaurant, it was warm and smelled of expensive perfume and rich truffles. The restaurant was called Aurelia, the kind of place where menus don't list prices, and the complimentary water tastes like a fine vintage. We were there, of course, to celebrate Chloe. She had just secured a huge promotion at Croft Industries, becoming the youngest senior VP of communications in the company's history. It was a massive achievement. My parents were practically glowing. They looked like they had just cashed in a winning lottery ticket. My mother wore her finest pearls. My father had shined his shoes to a mirror finish. And then there was Chloe. She was poured into a scarlet dress that looked like it was spun from dangerous silk. She looked breathtaking. She also looked ravenous, not for the food, but for the adoration. I was in a simple black dress. I had made an effort to look presentable. I wanted to be happy for her, I really did. I kept telling myself, Ava, just make it through the night. Smile, nod, and whatever you do, don't make a scene. But the tension began the second we all sat down. Ava, Chloe said, her eyes raking me up and down as I took my seat. Is that the same dress you wore to Cousin Jessica's wedding 4 years ago? She said it just loud enough for the nearby waiter to overhear. My face flushed with heat. Yes, it's a classic dress, Chloe. It's a tired dress, she scoffed, lightly touching the diamond pendant at her throat. But I suppose on a book fixer's salary you can't exactly be popping into Chanel, can you? My mother let out a little chuckle. Oh, leave her be, Chloe. Ava doesn't care about things like fashion. She likes old things. Dusty things, my dad corrected, taking a sip of his whiskey. Moldy things. I squeezed the napkin in my lap until my knuckles were white. It's called conservation, Dad. I preserve history. Just last week, I restored a first edition manuscript from the 1700s. Boring, Chloe sang out. Anyway, let's talk about something that actually matters. Let's talk about me. The next hour was a monologue dedicated to Chloe. She went on about her new corner office, her new 6-figure salary, the people she'd had to fire to get there. She bragged about how everyone at the firm was terrified of her, as if that were a badge of honor. My parents hung on her every word. They nodded and gasped and toasted to her genius. I just sat there, picking at my bread, trying to become invisible. Then, the entire atmosphere of the room shifted. The heavy oak doors to our private dining room swung open, and Julian Croft walked in. Julian Croft wasn't just a man, he was a legend. He was the chairman of Croft Industries, a self-made billionaire in his early 50s, with silvering hair and eyes so sharp they felt like they could read your soul. He was a terrifyingly powerful man who didn't usually show up for employee dinners, but he was here for Chloe. Chloe shot to her feet, flashing her brightest, most practiced smile. "Julian!" she exclaimed. "I'm so honored you could be here." Julian gave a polite smile, shook her hand, and then my parents' hands. And then he turned to me. "And you must be the sister," he said, his voice deep and calm. I stood, my legs feeling a bit unsteady. "Hi, I'm Ava." "Ava," he repeated, his gaze holding mine. He didn't dismiss me or look past me. Chloe immediately jumped in before I could say another word. "Oh, she just glues old paper together, Julian. It's a cute little hobby job. Nothing serious like the work we do." Julian arched an eyebrow. He glanced at Chloe, then back at me. "Is that right, Ava? Just a hobby?" A spark of defiance ignited in my chest. I looked the billionaire straight in the eye. "No, sir, it's not a hobby. I'm a conservator. I specialize in the chemical stabilization of 17th century paper. I stop history from crumbling into dust." The table fell silent. My parents looked utterly horrified that I had contradicted Chloe in front of her boss. But Julian didn't look horrified at all. He looked intrigued. "Chemical stabilization," he said, taking the seat right next to me, not next to Chloe. "Tell me, how do you manage the acidity in the ink from that period? I have a collection of early maritime maps, and the iron gall ink is literally eating through the parchment. It's a tragedy. My eyes widened. Iron gall ink is incredibly tricky. It's essentially an acid. You have to use a phytate treatment to neutralize the ferric ions. If you don't, the paper will slowly burn itself up from the inside out. Julian leaned in, completely forgetting about the menu, the company, and even Chloe. Exactly, he said, lightly slamming his hand on the table in his excitement. That's precisely what my curator said, but he's terrified to touch them. Do you think you might be able to take a look? For the next 20 minutes, Julian Croft, the billionaire tycoon, ignored his newly promoted senior VP. He ignored my starstruck parents. He talked to me. He asked me about pH levels and vellum binding techniques. He treated me like an expert. He treated me like I was fascinating. For the first time in my entire life, I wasn't the shadow. I was the person someone actually wanted to listen to. I was happy. I was radiant. But then I made a critical mistake. I glanced across the table. I saw Chloe. She wasn't eating or drinking. She was just staring at me. Her face was perfectly composed, but her eyes were screaming. It was a look of pure, undiluted hatred. I'd seen her annoyed with me before, even angry. But I had never seen this. She looked like a predator watching its prey. She had brought Julian here to show off, to present him with her perfect family and her perfect life. She wanted to be the center of his universe, and instead, the dusty librarian was stealing her spotlight. My parents noticed it too. My mother kicked me sharply under the table. "Ava," my mom hissed through gritted teeth, "stop boring Mr. Boom Croft with all your nonsense." "It's not nonsense," Julian said, cutting my mother off without so much as a glance in her direction. "It's fascinating. You have a very brilliant daughter, Mrs. Sinclair." My mother froze, caught in a trap. She had to agree with the billionaire, but it seemed to cause her physical pain to compliment me. "Oh, well, yes, I suppose." Chloe let out a short, sharp breath that sounded like a hiss. She stood up so abruptly that her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I'm just going to the ladies' room," she announced, her voice tight. She forced a smile at Julian that didn't come close to reaching her eyes. "Don't let my sister bore you to death, Julian. She does tend to drone on." "Take your time, Chloe," Julian said with a dismissive wave. He turned right back to me. "So tell me about the adhesive. Do you use wheat starch paste?" Chloe stood there for a split second, just watching us, watching him smile at me, watching me smile back. That was the moment. I know it now. That was the moment she decided I had to be punished. That was the moment she decided to teach me a lesson I would never, ever forget. She turned on her heel and walked away, but she didn't go to the bathroom. I saw her turn left toward the kitchen. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was too happy. I was finally being seen. I had no idea that my sister was walking into that kitchen to order my execution. Chloe was gone for about 10 minutes. When she returned, the entire energy of the room had shifted. She was no longer stiff and angry. She looked relaxed, even satisfied, like a cat that had successfully cornered a mouse. She sat down, smoothing her red dress over her lap. She gave me a smile. It was a strange smile. Too wide. It showed too many teeth. "Everything all right?" I asked. "Perfect," she said. "Everything is just perfect, Ava. I just wanted to make sure the kitchen had everything just right for our next course. I want tonight to be special." My stomach clenched. Whenever Chloe said she wanted things to be special, it usually meant something terrible was about to happen to me. But Julian was here. We were in a public place. What could she possibly do? The waiters appeared almost as if on cue, carrying gleaming silver trays. "The soup course," Chloe announced. "Julian, you are going to love this. It's a roasted butternut squash bisque with truffle oil and sage. It's the chef's specialty." The waiters moved silently around the table, placing steaming bowls in front of each of us. The soup was a rich, creamy orange color and smelled incredible, a mix of earthy and sweet. I watched as a waiter placed a bowl in front of Chloe, then my parents. Finally, a different waiter, a young man who looked flustered, with beads of sweat on his forehead, approached me. He placed a bowl in front of me. He hesitated for just a second, his hand trembling slightly as he set the spoon down. He glanced at me, then shot a quick, nervous look at Chloe. Chloe stared right back at him, her eyes hard and commanding. The waiter immediately looked down at his shoes and retreated quickly. I should have known then. I should have seen that as a warning sign. Why was that waiter so nervous? Why did Chloe stare him down like that? But I was distracted. Julian was still talking to me. "So Ava," Julian said, picking up his spoon, "after this dinner, I want your business card. I'm very serious about those maps." "I'd be honored," I said, my chest swelling with pride. "Let's have a toast first," Chloe interrupted, her voice loud and sharp, slicing through our conversation. She raised her wine glass. "To my family," she said, looking around the table. "To my wonderful parents, who always supported the right choices. And to my sister, Ava." She locked her eyes on me. They were glittering with a strange light. "To Ava," she continued, "who always tries so very hard, may you finally get exactly what you deserve." My parents clinked their glasses against hers. "To Chloe," my dad cheered. "To Chloe," I whispered, lifting my water glass. I didn't drink alcohol. More importantly, I had to be extremely careful with food. Everyone at that table was intimately aware of my allergy. I am deathly allergic to shellfish, specifically crab. Even a microscopic amount can send me into full-blown anaphylactic shock. My throat closes, my blood pressure plummets, and my heart can stop. It's not a simple stomach ache. It's a potential death sentence. We've known this since I was 5 years old. Our entire family knew. Every time we went out to eat, my mother would make a huge production of it, telling the waiter, "No shellfish for the younger one. She's defective." Chloe knew it better than anyone. She used to torment me about it. When we were kids, she would chase me around the beach with a dead crab on a stick, laughing hysterically while I screamed and cried in pure terror. I looked at the soup, butternut squash bisque. "Is there any seafood in this?" I asked the table, more out of lifelong habit than real concern. "Don't be so paranoid, Ava," my mother snapped. "It's squash. It's a vegetable. Just eat your soup and stop making a fuss." "It's vegetarian," Chloe said smoothly. She picked up her own spoon and took a delicate sip. Delicious. Go on, Ava. Try it. It's to die for." She watched me. She wasn't looking at her own food. She was watching my hand. I picked up my spoon. The soup looked perfectly safe. It smelled of squash and sage. I dipped the spoon in. The liquid was thick and velvety. I brought it to my lips. I remember the taste with perfect clarity. It was sweet, salty, and warm. It tasted like autumn. But then, underneath the squash, there was another note, something rich, something savory and oceanic. I swallowed. It hit me before the spoon even touched the bowl again. It began as a tingling sensation on my lips. Then, a sharp metallic taste flooded the back of my mouth. It felt like I'd licked a battery. A wave of heat exploded in my chest. It wasn't a slow build. It was instantaneous. My ears started ringing. The palms of my hands began to itch violently. I dropped my spoon. It clattered loudly against the china. "Ava?" Julian asked. He had stopped eating. "Are you all right?" I tried to answer him. I tried to say, "Something is wrong." But when I opened my mouth, no sound came out. My tongue felt enormous. It felt like it was swelling up, filling my entire mouth. My throat, my airway, was simply gone. It was as if someone had poured liquid cement down my neck, and it was hardening in an instant. I clutched my throat with both hands, the universal sign for choking, for I can't breathe. My mother looked up, her face a mask of annoyance. "Ava, please don't make those noises." I shot up from my chair. It fell backward with a crash. I couldn't get any air in. I tried to inhale, but all that came out was a high-pitched whistling sound, a wheeze, panic. Pure, cold panic washed over me. I was suffocating. I was drowning on dry land. I looked at my parents. They were just staring at me with confusion, but not fear. They looked embarrassed. "Oh, for God's sake," my father grumbled. "What is she doing now?" I looked at Julian. He was on his feet, his face pale. He understood. He saw the hives starting to erupt on my neck. He saw my lips starting to turn blue. And then I looked at Chloe. She was sitting perfectly still, holding her wine glass by the stem. She was smiling, not a look of confusion, not a look of surprise. She was watching me die, and she was enjoying it. "She's acting, Julian," Chloe said, her voice eerily calm and conversational. "She does this for attention. Whenever the spotlight isn't on her, she fakes some kind of crisis. Just ignore her." I stumbled, my legs giving out from under me. The lack of oxygen was making the room spin violently. Black spots danced in front of my eyes. I fell to the floor, hard. My shoulder hit the carpet. I clawed at the neckline of my dress, tearing the fabric. I needed air. I needed to breathe. My chest was heaving, trying to pull in oxygen that had no path to my lungs. "Help me!" I screamed in my head. "Mom, Dad, help me!" "Get up, Ava," my mother hissed, her eyes darting around the restaurant to see who was watching. "You are embarrassing your sister." I lay on the carpet, gasping like a fish out of water. I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs, thump, 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 and then it started to flutter. It was giving up. Julian didn't listen to Chloe. He didn't listen to my mother. "She's not acting!" Julian roared, his voice shaking the entire room. "She's having an anaphylactic reaction. Call 911, now!" He dropped to his knees beside me, not caring about his expensive suit. He grabbed my face. "Ava, look at me!" he shouted. "Do you have an EpiPen? Where is it?" I blinked. My purse. It was under the table. I tried to point, but my arm felt like it was made of lead. Chloe laughed, a light tinkling sound. "Julian, really? You're falling for this?" "She's just holding her breath." "Ava, stop it. You look ridiculous." Julian ignored her completely. He was tearing through my purse, dumping its contents onto the floor. Lipstick, phone, keys, and then the yellow tube. The EpiPen. He grabbed it. He didn't hesitate. He didn't ask if I was ready. He ripped off the safety cap and swung his arm down. Crack. I felt the needle punch through the fabric of my dress and deep into my thigh muscle. The pain was sharp, but I welcomed it. It meant I had a chance. The adrenaline flooded my system. My heart gave a hard kick. But it wasn't enough. The reaction was too severe. The poison was too concentrated. My throat opened just a fraction, enough to let out a gurgling rasp. But the darkness was still closing in. I was fading. I was going to die on the floor of a fine dining restaurant while my sister drank wine and watched. I looked at the table one last time. From my angle on the floor, I could see the underside of the table, Chloe's red shoes, and the bowl. The soup, I knew. In that moment, with my brain starved for oxygen, I pieced it all together. The waiter's fear, Chloe's trip to the kitchen, the special bowl. She had done this. I couldn't speak to accuse her. I was about to lose consciousness. I could feel Julian holding my hand, shouting at someone to get the paramedics. I had to tell him. I had to leave a clue. With the last ounce of energy I possessed, I lifted my hand. It was shaking violently. I pointed a trembling finger straight up at the table, directly at my bowl of soup. I locked my eyes with Julian's. I pointed at the bowl. I tapped my finger in the air. The bowl, the bowl, the bowl. Julian looked where I was pointing. He looked at the soup, then he looked at Chloe. Chloe wasn't smiling anymore. She saw me pointing. Her eyes went wide. She started to reach for the bowl. "I'll just clear this away," she said quickly, her voice pitching up. I tried to shake my head. Julian saw her reach for it. He saw the panic in her movement, and then the blackness took me. The last thing I heard wasn't my parents comforting me. It wasn't the sound of sirens. It was Julian Croft's voice, as cold as ice. "Don't you dare touch that bowl, Chloe." And then, silence. I was floating. So this is what dying felt like. The pain was gone. The burning in my throat had subsided into a dull, heavy numbness. I couldn't feel my hands or my feet. I was just a consciousness trapped inside a body that had ceased to function. I was lying on the restaurant floor, my cheek pressed against the rough, expensive wool of the carpet. My vision was completely black, but my hearing was terrifyingly sharp. It's strange, the things you hear when you're dying. You hear what people say when they don't think you can hear them. I heard the clinking of silverware on plates at other tables. People were still eating, oblivious that a woman was suffocating just feet away. I heard my mother's voice. She wasn't crying. She sounded irritated. "Robert, help her up," she hissed. "She's made her point. Everyone is staring at us." This is utterly humiliating. I wanted to scream at her. "I'm not acting, Mom. I'm dying." I heard my father grunt. I felt his hands grip my shoulders as he tried to pull me into a sitting position. "Come on, Ava," he grumbled. "Snap out of it. You're ruining your sister's big night." The movement made everything worse. My head lolled back. My airway, swollen completely shut, twisted. I made a sound, a horrible, wet, choking noise. It sounded like a clogged drain gasping for air. My father dropped me. He just let go, and my head hit the floor again. She's limp, Helen," my dad said, a tiny crack of fear finally entering his voice. "She's not holding herself up." "She's just committed to the bit," Chloe said. Her voice came from above me, cold and amused. "I told you, she's jealous. She wants to ruin my moment with Julian. Don't give her the satisfaction." Then I heard a different sound, a roar. "Do not touch her." It was Julian. He shoved my father aside. I felt the vibration as his knees hit the floor next to me. He was close. I could smell his cologne, sandalwood and rich tobacco, mingled with the scent of my own fear and sweat. "Ava!" he shouted. "Ava, stay with me. The ambulance is 2 minutes out." He grabbed my hand. His grip was firm, the only thing anchoring me to the world. "She's turning blue!" Julian yelled at my family. "Look at her lips. Look at the hives. Do you think she can fake hives?" My mother gasped. "Oh my God, Robert, look at her neck." My neck had swollen so much it was wider than my head. The skin was an angry red covered in white welts. It looked monstrous. Finally, reality pierced through their self-serving delusion. My parents went silent. The embarrassment was gone, replaced by a sudden cold shock. They weren't worried about me dying. They were worried about how it would look. But Chloe couldn't stop. She couldn't admit I was dying because then she'd have to admit she'd caused it. "It's probably just a panic attack," Chloe said quickly. "Or maybe she ate something before she got here. She's so careless." Then the kitchen door swung open. I heard heavy, frantic footsteps. It was the chef. I couldn't see him, but I could hear the panic in his voice. He'd likely heard the commotion and the mention of an ambulance. "What is happening?" the chef asked, his French accent thick with alarm. "Is it the lady? The allergies?" Chloe cut in immediately. "Go back to the kitchen, Pierre. We have it under control. It's just a medical misunderstanding." "No," Julian barked. "Chef, get over here." The chef came closer. I felt his presence loom over me. "She is having a reaction," the chef said, his voice trembling. But how? The soup was butternut, sage, cream, vegetable broth. "Exactly," Chloe said, her voice rising in pitch. "It was vegetarian, that's what I told her. So she's obviously faking it, or she ate something else." There was a pause, a silence that felt heavy and dangerous. "Mademoiselle Chloe," the chef said slowly, "you ordered the soup." "Yes," Chloe snapped. "The butternut bisque." "No," the chef corrected. "You came to the kitchen, you asked for the special preparation." I felt the air get sucked out of the room. "I did no such thing," Chloe said, her voice sharp. "You're confused." "I am not confused." The chef was shouting now, his fear making him bold. He knew his reputation, and maybe his freedom, were on the line. "You told me she loved the flavor of the sea but could not eat the meat. You asked me to infuse the broth with the oil." "What oil?" Julian asked, his voice low and deadly. "The crab fat oil," the chef whispered. "It is pure concentrate, very strong, very expensive. You said it was a surprise treat for her." A collective gasp went through the room, not just from my parents, but from the waiters and the diners at nearby tables. Everyone heard it. Crab fat oil. It wasn't just cross-contamination. It wasn't a simple kitchen mistake. It was a concentrated dose of the one thing that could kill me. "You liar!" Chloe screamed. "I never said that." "He's lying, Julian. He messed up the order, and he's trying to blame me." "I have the ticket," the chef yelled back. "You wrote it on the ticket yourself. Add crab oil, table 4, seat 3. I have it in the kitchen." My heart was slowing down. The darkness was total now. I couldn't feel Julian's hand anymore. I was drifting away, but I had heard it. The truth was out. Chloe had walked into the kitchen. She had ordered the poison. She had watched them put it in my bowl, and then she had sat there, toasted to my future, and watched me swallow it. It was murder. My brain was shutting down, but a single thought burned bright in the darkness. I am not going to die. I am going to survive, and I am going to destroy her. I don't remember the paramedics arriving or being intubated on the restaurant floor. I don't remember them cutting my favorite black dress off me to attach EKG pads. But I remember waking up, just for a moment, in the middle of the chaos. I was being lifted onto a stretcher. The air was cold. We were outside on the sidewalk. The lights of the ambulance flashed against my closed eyelids. Red, blue, red, blue. The adrenaline from the EpiPen and the drugs the paramedics had given me were starting to work. My heart was racing like a trapped bird, but my throat had opened just enough for me to suck in a breath. It was ragged and painful, like inhaling broken glass, but it was air. I forced my eyes open. The world was a blur. I saw faces hovering over me. A paramedic with a beard, my mother looking pale and holding a tissue to her mouth, my father looking at his phone, probably checking if the news had leaked, and Julian. Julian was right beside the stretcher, holding the IV bag for the paramedic. His suit jacket was gone, his sleeves rolled up. I had to speak. I tried, but with a tube down my throat, no words came out. Panic surged again. If they took me to the hospital, the table would be cleared. The busboys would take the bowls, dump the soup, and run them through the dishwasher. The evidence would be gone. It would be my word against Chloe's, and Chloe always won. She could spin any story. Without the soup, there was no proof. I had to stop them. I reached out, my hand feeling like it was made of stone, and grabbed Julian's wrist. He looked down immediately. Ava, it's okay. You're going to the hospital." I shook my head violently, the movement making my vision swim. I pointed back toward the restaurant doors. I couldn't speak, so I mouthed the words over and over. "The soup." Julian frowned, leaning closer. "What?" "The soup," I mouthed again, squeezing his wrist so hard my fingernails dug into his skin. I stared into his eyes, begging him to understand. "Keep it." Julian Croft was a billionaire for a reason. He didn't get there by being slow. He looked at my desperate eyes, then at the restaurant. He remembered the chef's words about the special preparation. He understood. He straightened up, handing the IV bag to the paramedic. "Go," Julian said to the medics. "Save her." Then he turned to the head of his security detail, a huge man named Graves, who was standing by the limo. "Graves!" Julian barked. "Sir, lock down the restaurant," Julian ordered, his voice cold steel. "Nobody leaves, especially the staff, and nobody touches table 4. My parents looked bewildered. "Julian?" my dad asked. "What are you doing? We need to go to the hospital." "You go," Julian said, not even looking at them. "I'm staying here." "Why?" my mother asked. "Because," Julian said, his gaze fixed on the restaurant entrance where Chloe was standing, looking pale and shaky. "I need to secure the crime scene." "Crime scene." The words hung in the cold night air. My mother flinched as if she'd been slapped. "Julian, please, that's a bit dramatic. It was a mistake, an allergy mix-up." "Attempted murder is not a mix-up, Helen," Julian said. He turned to Graves. "I want the bowl of soup from Ava's seat sealed. I want the chef's ticket he mentioned. I want the footage from the kitchen security cameras. If anyone tries to delete or wash anything, hold them for the police." Chloe heard him. "I saw her from the back of the ambulance as they loaded me in." She was standing under the restaurant awning. When Julian said security cameras, her knees buckled. She had to grab the valet stand to keep from falling. She knew. She knew she hadn't just been cruel. She had left a trail. And for the first time, she wasn't dealing with our parents, whom she could manipulate with tears. She was dealing with Julian Croft. And Julian Croft destroyed people who lied to him. The paramedics slammed the ambulance doors shut. The last thing I saw was Julian marching back into that restaurant like a general going to war, and Chloe standing alone on the sidewalk, looking small, terrified, and guilty. The siren wailed as the ambulance sped away. I closed my eyes, tears leaking out, not from pain but from relief. I had almost died. My throat was raw, my body was in shock. But I had won the first round. I had preserved the weapon. The ER was a blur of lights and needles, but my mind was crystal clear. I wasn't Ava the Shadow. I was the victim of a violent crime, and I was going to make sure the perpetrator paid. My parents arrived 20 minutes later. They came into the trauma room as a nurse was adjusting my oxygen mask, but they didn't rush to my side. They stood at the foot of the bed, looking tired and annoyed. "Well," my mother said, clutching her purse, "Julian is making a huge scene at the restaurant. The police are there. It's a complete nightmare, Ava." I just stared at her. I couldn't speak yet, but my eyes said everything. "I almost died," I thought. "And you're worried about a scene?" "Chloe is a wreck," my father added. "She's crying in the car. She says she didn't mean for you to get this sick. She just wanted to, spice things up. It was a prank, Ava. A bad joke." "A prank? Attempted murder was a prank?" Because Chloe did it. My father sighed. We need you to tell Julian to drop this. When the police come to talk to you, just tell them it was an accident. Say you forgot to check the ingredients. We can't have Chloe going to jail. It would ruin her career. It would ruin the family name. I looked at them, the people who raised me, asking me to lie, to cover up my own attempted murder to save their golden child's reputation. Something inside me shattered, and then something else hardened in its place, like the permanent black iron gall ink I worked with. I reached for the nurse's clipboard and a pen. My hand was shaking, but I wrote on the back of a medical form, "Get out." I showed it to them. "Ava, be reasonable," my mother started. I slammed the clipboard against the bed rail. Bang. I pointed at the door, my eyes wild. I must have looked terrifying with my swollen face and the tubes. The nurse stepped in. "You heard her? You need to leave now." My parents looked at me with disgust as if I were the one causing the problem. Then they turned and walked out. I was alone in the hospital room, but I didn't feel weak. I lay back, visualizing the bowl of soup sitting on that table. That bowl was my golden ticket. It was my shield and my sword. I didn't need my parents. I didn't need their love. I had the evidence. And tomorrow I was going to call a lawyer, not a family friend. I was going to call Victor Nash, the most aggressive personal injury attorney in the city, a man my father despised because he destroyed families. Good, I thought, as exhaustion pulled me under. Let him destroy this one. For the next 3 days, I lay in that hospital bed. My throat felt like it was lined with razor blades, and my voice was reduced to a painful whisper. But my mind was louder than ever. Usually, this is how it went. Chloe did something awful. I got hurt. My parents told me to get over it, and we moved on. They were banking on that happening again. My phone was blowing up. Dozens of missed calls and texts. "Ava, pick up. We need to coordinate our story. Don't talk to anyone until we speak. Chloe is distraught. Please don't be dramatic." And from Chloe, not a single text, not one word of apology. On the second morning, a police detective came to my room. "Miss Sinclair," he said gently, "we have a report from a Mr. Julian Croft regarding an incident at Aurelia. He alleges intentional poisoning. We need your statement. Did your sister try to harm you?" My mother, who had snuck back in, jumped up. "Officer, it was a misunderstanding. My daughters play pranks. We don't need a report." The detective looked at her, then at me. "Ms. Sinclair, do you want to press charges?" I looked at my mother, her eyes begging me. If I pressed charges now, Chloe would be arrested. It would be public, messy. My parents would paint me as the villain. I needed to be smarter. I needed to win before the war even started. I looked at the detective. "I'm not ready to give a statement," I whispered, my voice like gravel. My mother let out a sigh of relief. "See, she's fine." "However," I continued, looking straight at the detective, "I will be retaining counsel. My lawyer will contact you if we decide to proceed criminally." My mother's face fell. "Lawyer? Ava, what do you mean? We don't need lawyers. We're family." I ignored her and kicked her out again. Then I picked up my phone. I didn't search for nice lawyers. I searched for the name my father hated most, Victor Nash. My father, a corporate consultant, hated Victor because Victor was a shark who sued big companies and didn't care about family names. He cared about winning. I called his office. Victor Nash's office. "My name is Ava Sinclair," I rasped. "I was poisoned at Aurelia restaurant on Tuesday night. The primary witness is Julian Croft." There was a pause. The name Julian Croft opened doors. "Hold, please." 30 seconds later, a deep, smooth voice was on the line. "Miss Sinclair, I heard about the incident. Thorne shut the place down. Why are you calling me? Because my family wants me to say it was an accident, I said, and I want to ruin them. Victor Nash chuckled, a dark, dry sound. I can be at the hospital in an hour. When Victor arrived, he looked less like a lawyer and more like a hitman in a three-piece suit. He was tall, bald, and had eyes that missed nothing. He listened as I told him everything. The bowl is key, Victor said. Croft has it. Yes, his private security took it. Good. That's chain of custody. If the cops had it, your dad might pull strings. Nobody steals from Julian Croft. Victor leaned back. Here's the situation, Ava. We can go to the police. Chloe gets arrested, gets bail, gets a high-priced lawyer. A jury might buy that it was a prank gone wrong. She gets probation. You get nothing but a family that hates you. I nodded. That was exactly my fear. Or, Victor said, a cruel smile on his lips, we bleed her. We treat this as a civil battery case. We build a mountain of evidence so high she drowns in it. We threaten a lawsuit so public and damaging she'll pay anything to make it go away. We don't just want justice, Ava. We want leverage. I want her to admit it, I said, and I want them to pay. They will pay, Victor promised. We'll sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress and battery. And because she did it in a professional capacity, we might just be able to ruin her reputation so thoroughly she'll never work in this town again. Do it, I said. One thing, Victor said, standing. You go silent. No social media, no texting your parents, no talking to Chloe. Silence is our weapon. Let them panic. Let them think you're weak. I can do that, I said. Good. I'll get the evidence. You get better. For the next 4 days, I followed his orders. My parents came to the hospital daily. I pretended to be asleep or just stared at the wall. Ava, please talk to us, my dad begged. Chloe is a mess. We'll pay your medical bills, my mom offered. We'll send you on vacation. Just sign a paper saying it was an accident. I didn't answer. They thought my silence was depression. They didn't know I was just waiting for the lab results. I was discharged a week later, changed the locks on my apartment, and waited. 2 days later, Victor came to my apartment with a thick file. He laid out the documents one by one. Exhibit A, the toxicology report from a private forensics lab. Julian sent the soup to the best, Victor said. Look at the numbers. I looked. The report showed a high concentration of crustacean lipid. The concentration was 15%, Victor said. That's not a splash from a wrong spoon, that's a deliberate pour. A lethal dose. I felt a chill run down my spine. Exhibit B, the chef's affidavit. Pierre is terrified of Julian, Victor explained. He sang like a canary. I read the statement. Ms. Chloe Sinclair entered the kitchen at 7:45 p.m. She asked for the crab oil. I told her the sister had an allergy. She said, I know, it's just a little. I want to teach her a lesson about being picky. Don't worry, she has medicine. She watched me pour it. She told me to add more. She told him to add more, I whispered. Intent, Victor said. Malice. Exhibit C, the texts. How did you get her texts? Julian Croft checked his company phone records. He showed me the screenshot. 8:02 p.m., minutes before the soup. About to spice up dinner. Little sister is being a bore. Watch this. 8:15 p.m., while I was choking. OMG, she is so dramatic. Flopping on the floor. It's hilarious. She was texting while I was dying. She was laughing. Exhibit D, the smoking gun. But this, Victor said, pulling out the final sheet, is what puts her in prison. It was a list of internet searches from Chloe's work computer. How much shellfish to trigger anaphylaxis? Can you taste crab oil in squash soup? Is it illegal to feed someone their allergen as a prank? sentencing for involuntary manslaughter. I stopped breathing. She had researched it. She knew it could kill me. "This isn't a prank," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "This is premeditated." "Exactly," Victor said. He closed the folder. "We have enough to put her away for 10 years. But we aren't going to the police yet." "No," I said, remembering the plan. "Because if she goes to jail, she has no money. You get justice, but you're still broke and traumatized. We want her to bleed cash first." He pulled out a demand letter. It outlined all the evidence. It stated we were prepared to file a civil lawsuit and hand everything to the DA within 48 hours unless our terms were met. "What are the terms?" I asked. "Full admission of guilt, a restraining order, and a cash settlement for pain, suffering, medical bills, and punitive damages." "How much?" Victor looked at me. "How much are they worth? Your parents' house? Chloe's investments?" I thought about all the years of being a shadow, the terror in the restaurant, my parents telling me to lie. "I want enough to start my own life," I said. "I want to open my own conservation studio. I want to never ask them for a penny again." $850,000, Victor said. My eyes widened. "That's almost $1 million. It's a specific number," he explained. "If we ask for $5 million, they fight. But $850,000, that's everything they have, but it's doable. They can mortgage the house. It hurts, but it's possible. It's the price of her freedom." "They'll never pay it," I said. "They will," Victor said calmly, "because the alternative is Chloe going to prison for 8 years and being a registered violent felon." He slid the letter to me. "Do I send it?" I picked up a pen. I didn't hesitate. "Send it," I said, "and tell them they have 24 hours to respond." Victor stood up. "Get some rest, Ava. Tomorrow is going to be a very loud day." I sat alone in my kitchen, but I didn't feel sad or scared. I felt powerful. For 27 years, I had been the fragile one. Now Chloe was the one with cracks in her foundation, and I was holding the hammer. The meeting was on Friday, in a neutral conference room downtown. I wore a white suit. I wanted to look clinical, clean, like the person who fixes things, not the victim who is broken. "They're going to appeal to your emotions," Victor warned. "You say nothing. Let the paper do the talking." I nodded. My parents walked in first, looking 10 years older. Then came Chloe, coached by her lawyer, wearing a soft pink cardigan and no makeup, a costume of innocence. She sat across from me, her eyes filling with practiced tears. "Ava," she choked out, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "See? She's sorry, Ava," my mother pleaded. "Can't we put this behind us?" Victor dropped a folder on the table with a heavy thud. "Mr. Finch," he said to their lawyer, "you've seen the demand letter." "We have," Finch said nervously, "and frankly, the amount is absurd. $850,000 for an allergic reaction. My client offers $10,000 and a heartfelt apology." "It was a prank," Chloe whispered, wiping her eyes. "I didn't know it would be that bad." I stayed silent, my face a mask of stone. Victor smiled, a terrifying sight. "You didn't know?" he asked. "No," Chloe insisted. Victor slid a paper across the table. "Exhibit D, search history from the defendant's laptop, Tuesday morning." Finch read it. His face went pale. "What is it?" my father asked. Victor read it aloud for the room. Search query 1, how much shellfish to trigger anaphylaxis? Search query 2, is it illegal to feed someone their allergen as a prank? Search query 3, sentencing for involuntary manslaughter. The room went dead silent. Chloe stopped crying. "You searched for manslaughter?" my mother whispered. "I was just curious," Chloe stammered. "It means premeditation." Victor's voice was hard as iron. It means you knew the risk was death. It means this wasn't a prank, Chloe. It was a hit. He leaned forward, locking eyes with my parents. Here is the reality. We have the toxicology report, the chef's testimony, her texts, and this search history. If we walk out of this room, I go to the DA. She's looking at 8 to 10 years in a state penitentiary. Chloe started shaking for real this time. "Fix this," she hissed at her lawyer. "I can't fix this, Chloe," Finch said. "This is damning. You're going to jail." My father put his head in his hands. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice hollow. "The terms in the letter," Victor said. $850,000 wired within 72 hours, and a signed NDA. If you pay, Ava won't talk. Chloe stays out of jail. "We don't have that kind of money," my mother cried. "That's our retirement, the house." I finally spoke. I looked at my mother, the woman who told me to be quiet while I was choking. "Then choose," I said softly. They all looked at me. "Choose," I repeated, "your money or Chloe's freedom." My mother looked at Chloe, who looked back, small and pathetic. "Mom, please," Chloe whispered. "I can't go to jail." My father let out a long, shuddering breath. His eyes filled with pure resentment for me. "We'll pay," he snapped. They signed the papers, signing away their financial security. The weight on my chest lifted. It wasn't about the money. It was about the cost. For my whole life, hurting me had been free. Finally, the bill had come due. It has been 1 year since that day. I'm standing in a large, sunlit warehouse in the Arts District. It smells of old paper, leather, and cedar. A brass plaque on the door reads, "Sinclair Conservation and Restoration." I used the settlement money well. I invested in myself. I bought this building, the best equipment, and built a sanctuary for broken things. I have 3 employees. We treat the books and each other with respect. My biggest client is Julian Croft. He fired Chloe with a press release citing gross misconduct, a death sentence in the PR world. He came to me a month after I opened, bringing his maritime maps. "You have a gift, Ava," he told me. "You see the value in things other people ignore." He entrusted me with his entire private archive. That contract alone is worth more than Chloe's old salary. My parents are broke. My father is still working, bitter and tired. They send me birthday cards I don't open. As for Chloe, I heard she's a shift supervisor at a call center in some small town. She has no audience anymore. In my work, we talk about inherent vice. When a book's own materials cause its destruction, you can't fix it. You can only separate the rot from the healthy parts. That's what I did. I didn't destroy my family. I just removed the acid. I separated myself from the rot. I pick up a scalpel and look at the battered 18th century journal in front of me. It looks ruined, but I know better. I slide the blade under the mold and lift it away. Underneath, the paper is clean. The story is still there. I was broken. I was poisoned. I was almost erased, but I restored myself. And this version, the one that survived, she is unbreakable. It wasn't easy to share this, but I know I'm not alone. If you've ever felt like the shadow in your own family, told to stay quiet to keep the peace, hurt by those who should protect you, I want you to know, you are not defective. You are just surrounded by people who don't see your value. And sometimes the only way to heal is to walk away. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button. I share stories like this to remind us we are stronger than those who try to break us. And please, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're listening from, or share your own story of survival. I read every single one. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember to preserve your peace.